Check 1 2 on the mic. Check. Check, 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 check. Yeah. Nice. How's everyone doing today? It's Monday. What's going on? Get my microphone adjusted. My Christmas lights are gone. My wife has taken all the Christmas stuff out of the house. I told her it's not even the 12 days of Christmas. She's already taken the Christmas stuff out. How's everyone doing? All right. So it's Monday. Everyone's kind of back to work, maybe. Mentally, I don't know if you're back to work, but let's get back into it. The holiday slumber is hopefully done with, and we're ready to kind of kickstart into 2021. So I figure I'd give you a presentation that I've given before, and the video you're about to watch almost got me fired. So let's kind of dive into it. I want to go through some of these topics that are near and dear to my heart, and that's pricing, because pricing leads to more revenue, which leads to more profit, which leads to more of a better business or a better life or whatever you want it to do. Profit is a key, and don't be afraid of profit. So let's, I'm slightly kidding about this presentation that I've given this presentation before, and it almost got me fired. The context I did it in was not good. I gave this presentation in front of my, I was the low man in the totem pole. I gave this in front of the executive team and the sales team, and I had nothing to do. I was not an exec, and I was not in sales, So you're going to watch this slideshow and be like, yeah, Jordan, you probably shouldn't have been talking about that. Or like, I feel like maybe not thinking about it, I was probably like led into a trap. Was I led into a trap, or was I just so arrogant that I knew this? I'd had such a burning desire to share this information with people that I didn't care what it cost me politically in the office. I just like, this is important. I think we can improve from this. In my naivete, maybe all good ideas float to the top. So here, let me just kind of spit out this good idea. Somebody take credit for it. It doesn't have to be me. I don't care. But today we're going to talk about how to price your creative work. It's we're keeping it a little general. I've normally kind of focused really hard on wedding photographers specifically, but the lessons that we're going to talk about today apply to videography, graphic design, other genres of photography. But if you're a wedding photographer, you can sit right here and enjoy this work, because this is going to give you better insight, better perspective. And let me just kind of get to the goal. The goal I have for this is that you understand the flaws with your certain pricing models. I'm going to list a few of the known pricing models that are out there, like what we kind of consider normal, and poke holes in that, kind of give you some alternatives that you can test out. And then, kind of that way you can also watch this passively and reflect like, what am I doing in my own business? And Jordan seems to be shitting on how I'm pricing my work. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. So this is meant for you a little bit of understanding, some new facts and figures, hopefully, and then we'll go right into, and then hopefully you have some reflection from this, either watching the video or after the video. That's my goal. That is my goal for this video. So let's kind of get into it. Thank you first, thank you guys for watching. If you are watching the live stream, hello, how's it going? My name is Jordan P. Anderson. Before we get started, hit the like and subscribe button, whatever the YouTube stuff wants us to do today. In these days, yeah, just hit it. Okay. Make sure we're still streaming. Everything looks great. Everything looks good. All right, let me switch over to I don't want to show you the live stream behind the scenes. I want to show you this. So the book, and this was, I should have done like a 2019 book, like Pricing Creativity. Got this book. This book was the best book I read in 2019. And I don't recommend it for everybody. And I say it was the best book but really, I really think about it. It was the right book for me at the right time in my life to read it. And that's what made it. It's a good book. It is a great book. It's a fantastic book. But it just, sometimes just when things just hit you in the right place at the right time, it all just kind of falls into place. Open my eyes up. I cannot see beyond this, or I cannot see past this literature that we're going to discuss. So this is my presentation on Pricing Creativity by Blair Enns. So Blair Enns does the... do I have the book here? Yeah. Let's see. Let me grab the book real quick. This book. Oh, here, switch over. This book right here, Win Without Pitching Manifesto. I have a couple copies of these. I might do a giveaway of these soon one day. But this book kind of started me off on the journey, and then it kind of worked more into, I was like, oh, cool, he's got a sequel. He was on The Future with Chris Do. And I was like, I got to find out more about this guy specifically, but this concept of value-based pricing, that you don't have to bill by the hour, that you don't even really have to bill by like a flat fee. There are other ways to bill. There are other ways to price your work. And me coming from the video production world, it's all about day rate. It's all about hourly rate, and just kind of started to suck. The more me realizing, and especially me working at video editing, I realized that I was getting faster and faster and faster at video editing, and people were paying me by the hour, so I was making less money, and there was a weird tendency, or like I wanted to cheat the system and work slower, or it's like hourly billing, hourly pricing, your hourly rate puts you in a weird position because you should be honest in how you do your business. But there's that like kind of friction between I want to get paid what I'm worth, and this job I thought was going to take 10 hours only took 2 hours. So that means I'm only getting 2 hours worth of work instead of times 10. It's now times 2. So I'm making way less than I thought I was going to make. Should I just kind of fudge my hours here? And that's like you don't want to be in that position. That's not a good position to be in. You don't want to have, like, we want to be ethical. We want to be moral. We want to be good people, good citizens. You don't want to feel like you're having to lie to your client or like fudge the numbers. So it's like hourly bill. A great thought experiment is if you run an hourly billing company. If you are a photographer, if you are an editor, you want a slower computer because a slower, crappy old computer is going to run slower, and therefore it's going to take you longer to edit. If you have a faster computer, that means you can export quickly, you can upload quickly. It's like you don't want that because it means you're going to work less time and make less money. I should do a whole video on. I wrote a blog article. Your hourly rate is killing you. I'm going to do that very soon. So, but let's get into this. So this is Pricing Creativity. This book stands on the shoulders of giants of other pricing gurus. And those pricing gurus can't come to my head right now. But this book, if you want to check it out, it's in the link below. Recommend you check it out. So, like I said, the goals is to understand the flaws with certain pricing models and reflect on your own way of pricing. Make sure I am centered in this little bubble. Should I make my little bubble bigger? I feel like I need to. My little bubble man. Oh, maybe I need to drop down. I'm like, there we go. Centered perfectly. So let's get into it, folks. So within most organizations, freelance entrepreneurs, small business, medium-sized business, corporations, there are two models that are kind of always at battle. And the two models are innovation versus efficiency. So let's talk about innovation first. So innovation, what do we think of innovation? We think of innovation is a great process. It's a very creative process, but with that creativity becomes trial and error, research and development. There's failure, there's inspiration, there's new ideas. It is a very time-consuming effort. Think of any large company, how many iPhones were there, or how many iPhone prototypes did they have to go through in the research and development department before they came out with the iPhone and said, this is the iPhone. And that takes a lot of money. And, and if you are a manager, if you are a stern business person and you're trying to manage the resources and people and time and money that's being put into a project, you are kind of, you can pump as much as you want into innovation, but you start to the idea is like, we can't be super innovative although that's where a lot of profit can come from, innovation can kind of fight against us because it seems like we're wasting time, or there's the potential that time could be wasted because, sometimes you make an innovative idea, or you come up with some new cool strategy, or you do a new video technique, or you're trying something new in Lightroom that you've never done before, or in After Effects, and it fails or it looks terrible, and you wasted a day learning how to do it, spent another day editing it and putting it together, and it just didn't work. So that's like, that would be, in a manager's mind, that's time wasted. But to the person who did it, maybe it's a learning opportunity. But sometimes in a client scenario, you don't really want to be super innovative, or sometimes you do want clients to be super innovative. So that's like the fight that you have. So innovation leads to new products, which means finding, and if you have a current business model, and this was the rub that I had at the company I worked for, the current business model is status quo. A lot of managers, a lot of middle managers are fighting the status quo and maintaining the status quo. They want to keep everything the same. And innovation comes in and says, well, okay, instead of us doing video production, what if we did like video marketing consulting and did like Facebook ads with it? It's like, okay, that's great. That's an innovative iteration of video production. You're kind of making us a full stack marketing agency. Well, now that means we have to go find a new market to sell this product, to sell this bundle of things. Before, we were just selling our status quo, video production. Here it is. We got the template, and we're just stamping it every time. It's a copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. The business model gets more and more efficient. And if you come in and say, let's be super innovative, and let's change it up, and let's give people new jobs and new roles and new ways and let's bring in some new people that means that we now have to figure out you're basically like rebuilding a business model, which sometimes in organizations is the right thing to do. You want to, maybe your industry is dying, or maybe what you were doing, like event videography, like I was doing, it's kind of dead right now, or it has to change. So like there has to be that divergence, or that, we have to, the fork in the road. We can't keep doing the old thing that we've been doing. We have to start innovating and adding new products and start looking for new customers, because the product we are selling is not in demand anymore, or the customers that we have or the clients that we have are dying out, fading out, not so much interested in what we have to offer. That's innovation. Now let's talk about efficiency. This is where your middle managers come in. This is where your supervisors come in, your producers, the managerial OCD part of your brain as an entrepreneur. Productivity, time tracking, cost reduction, utilization rate. If you've ever been in maybe some small businesses do this. The small company I worked at in Baton Rouge, they started to do this towards the end of the time I was there, where you're filling out timesheets, or some clients even want to know your timesheets. They want to know, especially large clients. If you're working at a small business or a medium or large corporation, some clients that you work for want you to report their hours. So there comes like, okay, we got to be as efficient as possible. We got to track our hours. Everyone has to track their time. And it gets very like tedious. And it's like, especially if you're a salary position like I was, you're just at the same job every day, 9 to 5. What'd you do last Tuesday? You didn't track your hours. I was here 9 to 5. What do you want? Like, what information are we going to get from knowing that I was here from 9 to 5? It's just, did you work on this for 40 hours or 35 hours? I don't know. Well, we need to know, because we need to have a better sense of how we can estimate projects. And I agree to some extent. That has to happen a little bit. But efficiency is focused on productivity. Like, we have to do the product, we have to render the service as fast as possible in the most efficient way with the lowest amount of money. Like, how much can we shave off this? Okay, like you think like you have a book here. Okay, can we make the book smaller, make less ink? Can we do a lower quality paper here, because let's cut costs. Okay, let's not use FedEx, let's use UPS, let's use instead of color print, let's do black and white print, because it's cheaper, and that's like you're starting to get lower and lower and lower in your cost, to kind of, because that's the only way you can kind of hold on to your profit, or like this this efficiency model usually occurs with a lot of commodity products where it's very fungible, it's very replaceable. You can't really tell the difference. So we have to get our product as low as it can be, shave the price down as low as it can, because our profits, our margins are so low as it is that we're really focused on, instead of, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about this, but this is where you start to see the fight. Like, innovation comes in and they want to waste a lot of time in research and R&D, and then efficiency comes in and says, we got to do this quicker, we got to do this faster. Research and playing around and experimenting is a waste of time. According to the timesheet, what'd you do? You spent 40 hours wasting time here. That I don't see any money, I don't see any profit here. I just see research. What does that mean? What do we get out of this? So I did so again. Don't say so, Jordan. Utilization rate is how effective it's basically like how effective your workforce is, how effective is your team, your employees are, they have 40 hours of work available, and how much did they work in those available 40 hours, and you just divide that and say, like, okay, if I worked 20 hours out of the 40 hours I was available, I had a 50% utilization rate. It's just another middle manager statistic that they use to kind of, I say it's just kind of to justify their job. I don't like middle managers. All right, so with any business model, you have to choose one. You cannot choose efficiency and innovation at the same time. You either have to fully commit to, we're going to create new and innovative products all the time, dump a lot of money into research and development, or we're going to just really focus on being as efficient as possible. You can be Ferrari, or you can be no, let's not use car companies. Let's keep with the Apple. So you can be Apple and say, we're going to make innovative products all the time. We're going to constantly be pushing the envelope, even though you can make the argument Apple doesn't really push the envelope that much. That's the difference. But just kind of go with me on the brand standpoint, the brand case study, that Apple is constantly pushing, making more innovative stuff, whereas a company like Nokia, which makes like old flip phones, they don't really care about being super innovative. They're probably more worried about, like, how do we get our supply chain and our source material as cheap as possible so we can make the most profit off this one little crappy dumb phone a flip phone that we're gonna try to sell. So that's the kind of difference. Nokia cannot decide to, they can start to, hey, we're gonna move towards innovation, or Apple in some degree, when they're done innovating, they start to look at how we can make our business model as efficient as possible, but then the more efficient they become, the less, then they start to say, well, we have to track everyone's time. We can't spend as much money in research, which ends up stagnating the product, which means that you're not as innovative as you were, which could kill you in your industry. If your industry is moving very fast, especially in the digital world, and you really want to focus on efficiency, you might be, signing your own suicide note. So here's kind of the difference. So this is customized versus productized service. And in the book, Blair Enns talks about basically a customized service is, I'm working with a couple clients. Usually you think of this like a life coach, a business coach, a consultant, a marketing strategist. This is a customized service where I say, hey, it's just a couple of us. We only have a couple clients. And every project that we do is completely different, completely new, based on the client and their needs. Whereas a productized service, it's not saying that there's anything wrong with these models, but I'd say, like, as we kind of go down the list, you'll kind of see the advantages, disadvantages. Productized service means that for, let's say it's a wedding photographer that just has it's a wedding photographer who has a bunch of other smaller wedding photographers under them, and they just kind of act as a network. They don't spend as much time shooting the wedding. They spend more time managing and hiring other freelance wedding photographers to work for them, and they just kind of create the same product over and over. It's very copy paste. Let's scale this up as much as we can. I worked for a company like that, or I worked for a guy like that one time, where I was just a remote freelance videographer for a wedding. I would go shoot, I would shoot for him, and I would send him a thumb drive of all the footage, and that was it. And then he went and sent all his footage to like be edited in India or something like everything was outsourced. He outsourced everything where he was just, so that to me was like, that's a productized service. It's basically the same thing. So let's kind of go through this list. Let's start with customized services firms, 8 to 12 clients, not a big Rolodex of clients. They focus on value-based pricing, usually have high margins, big profit. It's more of a consultative sale as opposed to, it's less, think like less Facebook ads and pop-up ads and more like long phone calls where you're getting the details of every problem that the company or the client is facing, and you're kind of wanting to kind of walk through those problems to figure out a game plan to solve it. Culture of innovation. Hey, we're always changing. What if we sold video production? That's all we sold. Can we add on something to make it more spicy? Can we add on something that make us more profitable or make it more impactful for the client? They scale through client size. Instead of trying to get as many customers as possible, they are more focused on just getting bigger and bigger fish in the pond. Team selling. It's very like, hey, we're all here. This is my creative director. I'm the executive. I'm the CEO. This is my marketing director. The three of us, let's talk. Let's figure out your problem. Let's go through a little consultation. And then exit, we don't talk about exit. Productized services, that is hundreds of clients. And this is the case for the company that I worked for. I think we had like 300 to 400 revolving clients at all times, and we were just selling copy paste same video product over and over. Not very creative. The demands on us weren't being very creative. It was just kind of copy paste. Come in, shoot the CEO saying a few words on the teleprompter. We want a gray background with a light behind it. He's going to be wearing a suit, lapel mic. He says something, and then at the very end when he says thank you for watching, just show the logo. That was it. That was a lot of the videos that we sold. It's cost-based pricing. So cost-based pricing is you are focused on the materials and time that you put into it. Okay, our rental fee, our hourly rate of our employees cost this much, plus our overhead. That's going to be $250 an hour. You need us for 2 hours. Cool, that's $500. Very transactional kind of sale. This would be a Facebook ads kind of driven, where I don't really, and I'm probably generalizing with Facebook ads. When I say Facebook ads, I just mean like a large scalable, maybe even like Google search ads, just a large scalable thing where you're just blasting out big advertising to anyone who hopefully is kind of in the target audience, and maybe some people convert. They are super focused on a culture of efficiency, and that was 100%. It was all about like tracking your time, being as efficient as possible, because we're doing the same thing. We're making basically the same video over and over and over. Can we get faster at this? Can we put this on who's done this project before? Okay, let's put it on him. He's better. Everyone on the team was replaceable. There was no personalized style or no focus on strengths or weaknesses. It was just like, if you can work Monday, you're working Monday, and if you can't work on Monday, we're going to replace you with somebody else who can work on Monday, and then you're going to pick it up on Tuesday, and they're going to go back on a different project. Everyone was there was a middle manager heaven where you could just swap out your employees for whatever you wanted, and no one was really valued because everyone's all the same, and we're just creating the same product over and over. It's just a factory, basically. Who cares? And then it was a team of salespeople. There was a sales department, so the people selling the video, talking with the clients, had no video production experience. It was just about, can we close the sale? Do we have a deal? I feel like I'm shitting on this company I used to work for, but this was kind of the spawn of this. This was the spawn of my quest for finding information. I was like, there has to be a better way than this model that they're operating on. So now let's get into some pricing models. And before we get into that, I want to talk about my pricing model and some of the things I want you guys to check out. I'm going to switch it over here. Head over to the perfect wedding package before we get into pricing models. Speaking of pricing models, if you want to figure out if you want to figure out your prices, if you're unsure, if you're a wedding photographer, if you're a wedding videographer, and the price conversation is just a little bit unbearable, or you just you made a price sheet a couple years ago and you haven't changed it, or you're afraid to raise your prices, this guide right here gives you the confidence to raise your rates, because if we and what I should be selling, instead of raising your rates, I should be talking about we're gonna double your revenue in 2021. I believe that if you go through the perfect wedding package, that you can double your revenue. I believe you can double your revenue if you just follow the few steps that are in this guide. And of course, with the guide, you get also a personalized pricing consultation with me, where we go through, I can look at your price sheet, we can talk about your sales process, where we can improve, where we can get better, and how you can have better conversations with your clients so that they'll say yes to the big dollar item as opposed to saying yes to the $200 item. We want you to try to sell the $5,000 to $10,000 wedding as opposed to just selling, the $1,500, $2,000 wedding. Maybe that's even too high for you at this point. So let's raise those prices. Let's raise our revenue. Let's earn a little bit more profit in the year 2021. Head over to theperfectweddingpackage.com. Check it out. Watch the trailer and enjoy. Now let's switch back over to pricing models. Okay, pricing models. So in the book, Blair talks about AGI over FTE. And what does AGI stand for? I at first thought it meant adjusted gross income, but it actually means agency gross income. And I didn't want to spread that. I had to double check this because I did not want to spread that misnomer that it's not adjusted gross income, it's agency gross income. So just the gross income of the entire firm, of your entire business, the company that you work for, all the money that they make in a big, on the revenue side, divided by the amount of full-time employees, basically the head count or the full-time equivalent. So if it's just me, I'll tell you about my journey. I'm trying to get to six figures, my journey to $100,000. If it was just me and I made $100,000, divided by 1 is $100,000. If it's a company of $10 million and there are 10 employees, then you guys are killing it, and everyone, the ratio is $1 million, because it's $1 million per head count. And there are, based on the type of approach you take, if you do a cost-based kind of pricing model where you just factor in the time and materials that you're operating with, and you factor that into your price, usually the average is $160,000. But if you move into the value-based pricing world, that's when your profits start to really rise up, really soar, and the average there is about $275,000 for some firms. And here's kind of a graph to check it out. So as you see, this is kind of the bell curve of cost base. Usually it's kind of this middle chunk right here, so, based on, and this applies, that's why it's a ratio, because some firms have 100 people, some firms have 10 people, some firms are just one person. And the average usually falls in here, but if we shift to value-based pricing, then our average typically goes up in the aggregate. So let's talk about 3 pricing models. Let's go to the first one. The first pricing model, and whether or not you are familiar with these names, you are probably familiar with these concepts. So the first pricing model, basically how you price your work, how you set your rates. The first one is, I think, the novice, and what we all fall to at the very beginning is time and materials. It's very literal. I worked on this for 10 hours, so I want 10 hours of work, and my computer cost $1,000. So that cost, so 1,000 times 10 hours of work. That's what goes into the business. This is how I'm going to determine my rate. My rent is $2,000. My rent is $1,000 here in this rural place. I'm going to charge this much, and my time is worth this much. It's very spreadsheet friendly. And this is where it's kind of like, that's why it's so easy, because you can just kind of do it on the back of a napkin. And that's where people kind of have fun. They say like, okay, my rate's this, there's my time, my expenses. So what the issue is, and let's talk about issues now. With time and materials, your client takes on all the risk. they are saying, and you two are making the agreement that if this doesn't take a lot of time, then me as the client, I'm not going to pay that much. But if we find that this project drags on, or it wasn't, we've underestimated our hours, then I'm taking on the risk as the client. And essentially, like, when you sign the contract as a client, you don't know how much you're going to pay. And that's very strange. So if you go, like, imagine going to a store and there were no prices, and then you got to the checkout, you stuck your credit card in and you said yes, okay, and then you saw the total and you go, wait a minute, holy shit, I didn't mean to pay for that. I didn't know it was that expensive. That is the problem with time and materials. I think I said this before. It's baking a cake, and I'm stealing the saying. It's baking a cake with the smoke alarm. Now just imagine that. You bake a cake with smoke and using the smoke alarm as your way to gauge your, how good you did. If the smoke alarm goes off, you have completely failed. So it's a lagging, that's the problem with it. It's a lagging result. I'm hoping I'm not going to step on anything. So another thing with time and materials is that, switch over here. Another problem with time and materials is the same with what I just said with the cake metaphor, that it's a lagging measure. So this is the problem I had at the job I had. It was, they wanted us to do timesheets, but it was never addressed, or timesheets or clocking in and out is a very lagging. It's a a post-mortem look at things. If I've spent too many hours on something, if I spent 100 hours over the last 2 weeks on a project and I was only supposed to spend 40, well, you wouldn't know that until 2 or 3 weeks later, when you go back as the manager and check the timesheet and go, holy shit, week 1 and 2, Jordan worked 100 hours on this. He was only supposed to work 40. And you go, great. Now, as a company, we have to charge the client 100 hours when we estimated we're only going to do 40 hours. So they're going to be pissed. Us as the management company, as the managers, we're pissed at our employees because they work too much. Or you got to make sure you're managing everybody and make sure everyone clocks in properly and submits their hours by Friday, because we got to know how much people are working on this stuff. If you're working too much on, and it's like, that's where it kind of doesn't make sense. You're like, you're punishing me for working on this too much? Like, I'm not supposed to make this good? Or you want me to work less on this or faster on this, but also do a good job? And that's where, like, as an employee, you're like, what the fuck do you want me to do? You want me to work? You want it to be good? Or good takes time, but you don't want to give up time because that means you have to charge more, which you might have some friction with your client. So what is it? That's the problem with time and material. And as a solo freelancer, you're basically telling your client, I think it's going to cost this much, but we'll see. The risk is on you, the client. So, some clients may not want that. They may not want that risk. So they instead say, maybe they say, like, the next evolution is the second pricing model, which are deliverables. Deliverables is a kind of a fixed thing. I'm going to deliver a video. I'm going to deliver a 30-second video. You will receive a 3-minute mini documentary with 5 30-second Instagram ads, or whatever you want to call it. That's a deliverable. I'm going to give you, wedding photographers do this too. I'm going to give you 300 images. I'm going to give you 250 images. You will get 6 prints. It's a very tangible thing. It's kind of, if time isn't a variable, or if we're not so worried about time, let's maybe just focus on the thing you're actually after. And maybe that's something you try to uncover with your client. What are you actually after? When you hire a web developer, you don't want to just hire a web developer. You want a finished website. So that would be the deliverable. So that's kind of that's the next evolution. You're kind of like, okay, so, one video, we think, so as you as the service provider, you say, I'm going to give you one video. We're going to charge you $3,000 for that video, and all the risk is on us, the firm, the agency, the freelancer, because we now have to make sure that we come way under $3,000. Like, there cannot be any slip-ups. There cannot be any screw-ups with this 3,000, like you have, this is the justification for why you need timesheets, and you have to understand how long something takes. I say use timesheets as here's something. Don't use timesheets to price your work, but use timesheets to help you better manage your projects. But do not take that data from the managed projects and use it to adjust or fix your prices. Don't use it just strictly as a productivity tool. Do not use timesheets. If you use timesheets or tracking your time, I used to track my time as a freelancer, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Track it if you want to see how much you work on something or see how long something takes you to do, so you can, but do not, people are so quick, it's such an easy bridge to cross to say, all right, I thought this was going to take me 10 hours, it took me 5 hours, therefore video editing, I need to estimate that at 5 hours and then price that based on 5 hours. Don't cross that bridge. Just use it strictly as a productivity tool. So going back to deliverables, all the risk is on you, the video production company, to make sure that you are selling and making a video for under $3,000. If you make a video, if we got to reshoot, if the shoot gets delayed, if we mismanaged, or the scope got blown up and now they want After Effects, or now they want 3D rendering or an animation sequence at the very beginning. Okay, that what we thought was going to be some profit has now eroded into nothing, and we're almost going to lose money on this. Or we might lose money on this now so that's where all the risk is. So the client can just demand all they want. The client can push you around. They can bully you, and with impunity almost, because it's on you, the service provider, the freelancer, to push back and say, no, we agree to this. You said one video for 30 seconds. This video is 60 seconds now. This is not what we agreed to. And it's like, it's on the firm to kind of babysit the situation and make sure that the scope doesn't go over $3,000, for example, and then you're no longer profitable. So now that moves on to the third and final, maybe not the third and final, but a third pricing model that Pricing Creativity by Blair Enns talks about is value-based pricing. So what is value-based pricing? Value-based pricing is kind of based on the value that you're going to provide the client after they've worked with you, after they had an engagement with you. You are kind of basing your value, your work, not on time, not on materials, not on the cost of a rental or how much it's going to cost you to outsource this. It's all just based on the value that you're going to provide the client. And so, for an example, like a client, if we work with you and if we do a great job at this, your product sales will increase from $100,000 to $150,000. So, for an example, this is not a hard number. I used to think this, this number right here. Just get my mouse. I used to think this was like a hard number. But for example, you say, okay, 20% of, you went from $100,000 to $150,000 based on the work we did. Or we made such a great video for you that you drove way more sales, you converted way more, and your sales went up by, 50%, and 50% increase. So we want some cream off the top of that $50,000 extra dollars you just made from working with us, because before you were just making $100,000, now you're making $150,000. We think we deserve, based on our work, based on the value we can provide, we want 20% of that extra money that you make. And now here is the nice part, where the risk is shared, that you, the service provider, have to work your ass off or make sure that this project is successful, because if it's successful, you will reap the benefits from it. And the client wants you to do a good job, and the client is cooperative and wants this to be a positive outcome because they want to solve the problem. They want to, in this example, they want to increase their sales. So if they increase their sales, then great. It's kind of a win-win. So this is where, and there's no moral problems here. There's no ethical problems. You're not having to lie or fudge any numbers or pretend like you worked more or inflate your cost here, or instead of charging $100 camera rental fee, you're now charging $1,000 just to increase your profit or something. This is, instead of saying like, hey, the proof is in the pudding, let's if we do a good job for you, if we gain 1,000 followers for you, if we rank your website at #1, then we want something. We want a piece of that. We want a piece of that. You can do a revenue share, you can do a profit share, you can do equity. It doesn't have to, or you can just say, hey, we want a cash base off this, or like we want some percentage of what, this would not happen without us, and we want, like I said, we want some cream off the top. And this is where the kind of mind fuck. So like, take a screenshot of this next, because this is a little bit, and I'll move my little mouse man, my little human head out of the way. So take a screenshot of this. This little chart right here that I'm about to show you changes everything, or it really changes how, like, what I just said kind of makes sense, but once you see this chart, you're like, oh shit. So take a screenshot of this right now. Here we go. This is cost-based pricing, and down here is value-based pricing. So the difference is that cost-based pricing starts with, and I'll make sure I say this right. It starts with the product, and then it goes to, now I have to make sure I say this correctly. I got to make sure I say this correctly. So let me look at this. So cost-based pricing starts with your product. We have a $2,000 wedding package that we're trying to sell. Okay, you want to sell it for $2,000. Okay, how much does it cost for you to sell or to put together a $2,000 wedding package? Okay, well, after it all is said and done, we're going to make, oh, excuse me. See, I already messed it up. I already messed this up. Let me start over. I'm sorry. So with cost-based pricing, you say, okay, we have a wedding photography package. This is what we do. We're going to do 250 prints. We're going to work for 8 hours. We're going to do 6 prints after this. We're going to give you a frame photo, a photo album. That's our product. That's our wedding package. Then you look at that wedding package and say, okay, how much does it cost to do 250 digital prints and to do 6 frames, and how much does it cost your time to work 8 hours, and how much does it cost to drive to the wedding, and how much does it cost for, you're always thinking about all the cost, and you're adding all that up together, and then based on all that, so whatever, camera's $1,000, driving is $100, the prints are $400. Okay, then you just start adding up everything, and then that's where and then it's like, okay, let's add 20% profit, and you're like, that's our price. And then you start to think about, okay, that's our price, that's our $2,000 wedding package. Let's now, like, how do we sell this thing? How do we add some value to it? Or like, how do we make clients value this $2,000 thing? Then you start to try to pump it up, or have some kind of weird conversation, or you do some sort of marketing to kind of pump up the value. And then you start to go and look for clients who will buy this product. And you haven't even involved, like, the client is involved on the very last part of this. So you can think about video production, you think about wedding packages. So like your wedding photographer, you'd say like, I sell wedding photography. I'm doing this 8 hours and 250 digital prints, 6 regular prints, a photo album. I'm going to sell it for this, and it's going to be $2,000. Okay, now let's go find some customers to buy this $2,000 thing. And you never asked the client anything. You never asked if the client wanted that, if they wanted you there for 8 hours, if they want 250 digital prints. Do they really want an album? Can they afford $2,000? And that's the kind of issue with cost-based pricing. So with value-based pricing, it flips the entire script. It flips the entire way that you do things. Instead of starting with the product and say, okay, we sell wedding photography, or in my case, a lot of times I sell video production. Instead, you're saying, okay, what does the client need? Let's talk to the client first. So we got the client in the room, and they say, okay, yeah, they saw that their competitor has video, and they want to do a video too, and they want it to be 3 minutes long, and they watch this nice documentary, and they like documentaries, so they want, and then we talk more. Okay, maybe they really need a video. Maybe they just have an issue with their sales process, or maybe they just need, instead of a documentary, now that we're talking to them more, they actually need a trailer on the broad end of their funnel, and that's going to get more leads to them to have more conversations with their customers. Okay. So if now you start to think about, okay, we find the client who they need some marketing help now, and then we start to think of what value could we provide them. They say they have a conversion issue. They say people go to their website some, but they don't really have that. They're just not able to get people to the cart to convert. Okay, so now let's think. Okay, well, we can help them. Now you start. Let me get my little face back in here. So you start to think, okay, the value, what value can we provide? All right, we can do video production, we can do marketing strategy, we can help them conduct interviews with their customers to figure out what is the issue, and you kind of go on and on, you kind of figure that's the value we get. Okay, so if we were to do all that, if we were to kind of create that value for them, how much should we charge for that? Okay, if we did like a Facebook campaign for them and kind of help build their funnel and did a nice like video trailer at the beginning, I think we'd charge like $10,000 for this. Okay, $10,000. So you got $10,000 budget. All right, now can you figure out how much it's going to cost for us to achieve that value? And then that's when you start to figure out, okay, all right, it could cost this. We could maybe do this, and then you start to think about, once you figure out the cost, then you start to think about the product, the thing you're actually going to do. So the service or the product that you sell is the last thing that you think about, as opposed to the product is the first thing. Like, I'm a baker. Everybody wants diet sugar-free cookies. Therefore, I'm going to make diet sugar-free cookies, figure out how much to get my cost down, set a price, and then go find some clients. And instead, I say, well, do they really want diet sugar-free cookies? I talked to some clients, talked to some customers. They don't want diet sugar-free cookies. They want just a healthy alternative to, a less sweet cookie, or they want a less sweet cake. What value can we provide? So the what I love about it is you're really thinking about the client first. You're really thinking about what the client is going through, what their problems are. You think about what you can provide them, not thinking about what you can do for them. That would be your product. When I say what you can provide for them, you can provide insight. What if we increase your conversion rate from 10% to 25%? That's the value you can add to their firm, to their company. And then this is the weird part. Instead of saying like, shooting a photo cost, my camera costs $1,000, my rent is $1,500, that factors in, my time is worth this. You're like, instead of thinking all the costs, you say, what can we do for $5,000, or what can we do for $2,000? If you told me I had to shoot a wedding, I would say, okay, let's figure out what value we can provide, and then I'd say, all right, the price you want me to do is $2,000. Okay, that's our price. Now let's go and figure out what we can do within $2,000. It doesn't have to be a wedding photo. It doesn't have to be on a high-end camera. It can be on a Polaroid. It can be on. We can reduce the cost or make the cost fit within the price that we've set, but you're not letting the cost drive the price. Oh, I live in a rural area, so my rent isn't that expensive, and I have a cheap camera, and I drive a cheap car, and gas is cheap, so my cost is pretty low, therefore I can set my prices lower. If I was in New York City, my cost would be way higher, so that way my price has to be much higher. See, it's like that's backwards, because you wouldn't do the opposite. So instead, this is the beautiful part. So I'm lingering too much on this, but this is this is like the heart of it all, where it just totally flips the script on how you price your work. Instead of thinking about what you're going to sell or who you're going to sell it to, what you're going to sell or how you're going to render the service, you're instead thinking about the client first and what their needs are and what their problems that they're facing, which I think is great. I think it's more ethical, and I think it leads to a better, more profitable engagement with your clients. So let's go to the rule book. So in the final part of the book, it kind of goes through all the concepts of pricing. Now let's talk about some of the rules that come with pricing creativity. So rule number 1 is price the client, not the job, which if you read this and if you're unfamiliar with these concepts, sounds like price discrimination. It sounds like, and it is, and there's nothing wrong with price discrimination. You should be charging your clients different prices based on what they need, because some clients don't value the services that you offer as much as other clients, and you should charge more for the people that value you more. Like that, it's a symbiotic relationship with the price and the value and how much of an impact you can make with your clients. Yes, it is. So rule number 1, price the client, not the job. It should not be everybody does not value a wedding videography package. Everyone does not value a wedding photography package the same. People who aren't getting married don't want to pay a lot for a wedding photography package, if at all, because it's not valuable to them. But a bride who's 10 weeks out from their wedding, they'll pay some good money. But a bride who is their wedding is tomorrow and their photographer dropped out, they're willing to pay a lot more because it's more valuable to them than it was to the person 10 weeks ago. We talked about this with airlines. Everyone's going on the same airlines do price discrimination. Everyone's flying on the same plane, going to the same place, but everyone in each individual seat basically paid a different price based on their needs and what they valued it at. I didn't need it. I bought these tickets 10 weeks ago. I bought this ticket this morning. Who's going to pay a different price? So you price the client, not the job. Do not just have just like template prices where it's always the same. Every job, let me send you my price sheet. Let me send you my price sheet. My prices are always the same because every client is the same. I think that's rude to say every client. If you price every job the same, that means you're saying every client is the same, which I think is rude because that's like just saying, it's just a broad generalization. People value different things differently. Rule number 2 is to offer options, at least 3. We talk about this in the Perfect Wedding Package, that you have to offer options. We like choice. We like to, if we want to do a value-based pricing option, if and say, hey, if I can increase your revenue by $10,000, I want 20%, I can give you that option. Or if you just want to pay a flat rate, we can do that too. Here's option 2, here's option 1, here's option 3. Give them some options. You need to think like a SaaS company. You need to think like every other, when you go to that pricing page and, on the software that you're about to download or the subscription you're about to get, they always have, options. Rule number 3 is to anchor high. That means set your prices higher, or in the conversations that you do or in the prices that you present, anchor high. Raise your rates as high as you can for some options, because the idea behind an anchor is that we cannot ignore the first bit of information that we are given. So if I told you $50,000 and then I told you about my $2,000 wedding package and then I told you about my $97 perfect wedding package thing you can get, then it's like, okay, yeah, but you still got $50,000 in your mind, even though I told you it's just an irrelevant number. But so saying a high price is how we're going to push the pricing conversation higher and higher in your favor, as opposed to saying like, well, I start at $100 and then I go up to $10,000. And you go, okay, well, hey folks, let's just stick around the $100 mark because you said that number first. Rule number 4, say a price before you show a price. This means that you have to, in some form or fashion, verbally, not on an email, verbally, in a meeting, Zoom call, face-to-face, say, I'm going to put together one of these options. I'm going to put together a $5,000 option, and I'll send it to you. How does that sound? Engage that reaction. That doesn't mean you have to, as long as one of the options has at least $5,000, that's fine because they're expecting it, because you want to gauge that reaction. Because if you say a price and they, that's too expensive, then now you know to lower your proposal. That means you need to lower your price sheet. If they say, yeah, that's fine, $5,000 option, okay, yeah, I'm curious what comes with it. So then you're like, okay, maybe we'll put a $5,000 option as the low end, and we'll push it up to $20,000. Boom, boom. The proposal is the word. This is a great quote from the book. The proposal is the words, or maybe it's are the words that come out of your mouth. It's a contract. A proposal is not a PDF. It's not a email. See attached. It's a I'm going to charge you $10,000. How does that sound? Great. Good. That works for you. Okay, I'll send over the paperwork. That's your proposal. Rule number 5, master the value conversation, and this is the hardest thing to do. You need to figure out what problems you're trying to solve or how you can go about solving these problems in your, you need to figure out how you can solve these problems with your clients, uncovering the problems, asking the right questions, asking the right why questions that expose the thing you are actually, you don't need a new website, you don't need a new video, you need a better way to talk to your clients, or you just need to change some of the copy, or the website is confusing. You don't really need a new video. That's thinking like, that's mastering the value conversation. It takes time. It's tough. It's tough, but you can do it. You can figure this out. It's instead of just saying, don't just stop at the first thing that they tell you. When they say, like, we need a video, don't just say, okay, great, need a video? Cool. Because what if I went to my doctor and said, my knee hurts, or like, I think I'm having a heart attack, give me medicine. Like, are you really having a heart attack? I was like, well, no, I'm not really having a heart attack, just my chest is kind of tight. Oh, okay, your chest is kind of tight? Yeah, my chest is kind of tight, and I'm, like, kind of sore, and, like, I had a slight cough. Like, okay, so you're not having a heart attack. But if you were just a doctor who just took their word and said, oh, you're having a heart attack. Here's heart attack medicine. Let's get you, let's put a stent in you. Let's run it for, whatever they got to do for a heart attack. It's like the same way with your clients. You have to push back a little bit and say, like, is this what you really want? Are you sure this is what you're talking about? Is this what you say you want a video? Do you mean like an Instagram stories video? Do you mean you just want to do like have an influencer do an Instagram story? Or you are talking about like you want a YouTube video that's 5 minutes long or a website video? Just like you need to figure that out. Next. So this is critical to your business, and this is rule number 5. You need to remain in that practitioner position, not the vendor. So the problem with a lot of photographers and a lot of videographers, and I've been in this position, that you become the vendor. Because vendors are replaceable. The DJ, the catering company, the florist are all vendors, very replaceable in a lot of situations. You would not really know one wedding DJ from the other, or one florist from the other. But and a lot of times one photographer from the other, and that's kind of living in commodity world, and we want to become a specialized good, a specialized service, so that we cater to a very specific target audience where only people value. The only clients that we work for are the people that truly value what we have to offer. And then, hang on, let me minimize this. And then rule number 6, limit, this is great. This sometimes doesn't apply, this obviously doesn't apply to a lot of weddings, but limit your unpaid proposals to 1 page. Because I have personally done this. I have submitted RFPs to municipal, county places where I say, hey, you need to send, you must send us a 40-page proposal with 3 original video ideas, a full breakdown of your financials, a full breakdown of your team, concepts, photos, mock-ups, and it has to be 12-point font, and it has to be Times New Roman, and you have to print out 2 copies and put it in 2 separate mailers, and they has to be mailed before the 5th, and they have to arrive before the 9th, and these have to be first-class mail, and it has to arrive to this person specifically. All that stuff, you wouldn't fucking believe it. All that stuff is part of a proposal. It's part of replying to an RFP, and then you have to come in. If you are then top 3 candidates, you must come in and pitch your idea to the board, and it's like all that work, all 6 weeks of work, potentially 10 weeks of work, just for something that's unpaid, something that you may not win the job. and then in a lot of these cases they want to limit your profit. So if it's unpaid, if they say like they want you to send, just kind of keep it to one page. And just I just usually do a price sheet. I just say, like, here are the 3 options. Here's what we can do, and have a conversation over the phone while we walk through the price sheet, the one-page proposal. Do not worry. Like, just don't talk about the team dog or your life story. It's like, don't waste time writing these big, fat 10-page proposals. Not big, fat. Big 10-page proposals, 20-page, 30-page proposals, thinking you have to put everything into it, original concepts, and not be paid, because we aren't in the proposal writing business. We are in the creative services business. We are in the photography business. We are in the video production business. So don't convince, just facilitate. Don't. This is what this book talks about here. Win without pitching. The core concept of the book is to avoid pitching at all costs. Not to be anti-pitching, but just say, I don't want to pitch my original concepts or waste time thinking of original concepts to stand in front and do the little dog and pony show and show you how cool and show you our demo reel in front. Like, we don't do that. I don't pitch. I'm not here to grovel. I'm not here to suck up to you and make you, please hire us. We are the best, please, like, we'll lower. It's like, you're in a losing position, and that's where you become replaceable and fungible. And instead, you want to restate why you're there with your clients. This is all part of the value conversation. You want to restate why you're there, the desired future state. What if we were to achieve this goal? If we were to solve the problem that you're facing today, what would the future look like 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? We look back and say, hey, we solved this problem and we kicked ass at it. What is it? What does the company look like now? What are the metrics? What are the numbers? Are we trying to increase subscribers? What numbers can we attach to it somehow? The dollar amount, the web traffic, the amount of product we're pushing off the shelves, the value that comes with that metric. And then you have to walk through the options that you give them in your proposal, in your price sheet. Yeah, so that's it. I was gonna go to do an appendix with the win without pitching. I'll show you. No, we'll do this. We'll do this another day. So yeah, that kind of wraps it up, folks. So yeah, that kind of presentation almost got me fired, and I hope that kind of cleared up some things. So let's kind of do a recap. Let's kind of go through some things just to make sure that you kind of got everything that there is to get, because that was a pretty dense, we're now been going an hour and a half, so almost an hour and a half. And so that was a pretty dense presentation, and so to review, so there is the fighting friction that is innovation versus efficiency. There's always going to be that friction. You want to go into R&D, you want to go into trial and error, new ideas, new ways to do video production, new ways to shoot a wedding, all those kind of innovative ideas. They can lead to extremely profitable new ideas, new avenues, or even new business models. But with that, you have to find a new market. So if you're at an old status quo company, they want to keep it very efficient. They want to instead focus on time tracking, reducing cost, increasing their not increasing their price or changing their prices, but like save more of their revenue. It's kind of the idea of like, instead of earning more money, like think of like a household income. Instead of earning more money, you really focus on like drinking less Starbucks and you're not going out as much. It's a way to improve what you have left, but the better way is to just add more money from the top and increase your gross revenue. And you can only choose one. We talked about the kind of difference between customized service firms, productized service firms, and you can take a screenshot right there. I will eliminate my face from this. Take a little screenshot of that if you'd like. All right. And back to me. Gonna get me off the corner. Thank you. We went over 3 different pricing models. That was time and materials, which all just, you figure out your day rate, how much time it's going to take, the expenses that are associated with you doing the job, your rent, your camera expenses, your insurance, liabilities, all that stuff, and then you add that up, and but the risk is on the client. So then you evolve to do, like, maybe let's do deliverables. Let's just charge a flat fee. I'm going to give you a 30-second video. I'm going to charge you $3,000, but the risk in that scenario, it's on the firm, it's on you, the freelance videographer or service provider, to make sure that you do not go over $3,000 on the expense side, and don't fall into scope creep. So then the third one is value-based. That's value-based pricing. And you really kind of focus on the value that you can provide a client and reaping the benefits of this kind of mutual engagement that the two of you had. If we can increase your sales, we want a little bit of cream off the top. I think it's fair that we take 20% of the increased sales. Maybe you only went from 100,000 to 110,000. Well, we want 20% of that. And the amount that you take, or the amount of cream, I keep saying the cream off the top, the amount of percentage is based on the risk factor it's the risk factor within yourself, or the confidence that you have in delivering that. Like, if you can deliver and say, I know 100% for a goddamn fact that we can increase your revenue $50,000, then you can charge 80 to 90% of that $50,000. If you are not so confident, then you might say, okay, we'll take 5% of that increased number. And they'll say, yeah, sure. So that's all based on your risk and your confidence, your ability to deliver the value that you have proposed that you're going to provide. This is an insanely revolutionary way of looking at things. Instead of starting with the product, not asking any clients and figuring out, okay, how much does it cost for us to make a video or shoot a wedding? Then let's attach a price to it artificially, and then let's figure out how we can add some value to this, and then let's go find the clients. And instead, doing value-based pricing, you say, let's start with the client, let's figure out what their problems are, what their needs are. Let's figure out what value we can offer them. Then we'll set the price, and then with that price set, we'll figure out our cost to make sure we keep under that price, and then let's figure out what we're actually going to do for them. This is kind of like selling. I love this because this is almost like you are selling the plane as you are flying down the runway, or you're building the plane as it's taking off, or something like that. The rule books, rule number 1, price the client, not the job. Offer options, think like a SaaS company. Rule number 3, anchor high. Rule number 4, where'd you go? Say a price before you show a price. Rule number 5, master the value conversation. And then rule number 6, limit your unpaid proposals to 1 page. Do not waste time writing big-ass proposals to people who aren't going to pay you for it. That concludes the presentation on pricing your creative work. I hope that made sense. I hope you, by looking at this, that you have a better understanding of how you are pricing your work. Maybe you were doing time and materials. Maybe you realize you're doing deliverables where you're just doing a flat rate, and you said, hey, there's got to be something different. And then you're like, wait a minute, value-based pricing, I kind of did something like that one time. Okay, yeah, like a revenue share or profit sharing. Yes, something like that. Something where it's mutually beneficial, where there's not this constant friction between you and the client saying, like, the risk is all on them, or the risk is all on you. Instead, find a way where you can have a mutually beneficial, a win-win scenario, and like a win-win-win, like a Blair Enns calls it the double thank you scenario, where you say thank you to the client and they say thank you to you. It's like that. It's not win-win. Is kind of that's 80s term. So just say, the double thank you that's the scenario you want to be in. So I hope that kind of cleared things up for you guys, or at the very best, inspired you or made you reflect on how you're pricing your work. I think it's so critical that you get your pricing down. It doesn't have to feel like this financial guru accounting mumbo jumbo. It's really something that, if you understand your business and you understand the value you can offer clients, that's all it is. It's just figuring that out and then attaching a price and attaching something that the client is going to say yes to, and mastering the value conversation so that they understand what you're putting on the table, what you're putting forth on the table in front of them, and then saying, here's option 1, here's option 2, here's option 3, how does this sound? And you go, yeah, this sounds pretty good. And then that's where you can increase your profits and increase that breathing room, invest in yourself, have a more enriched life in your business as an entrepreneur, as a creative service provider, as a wedding photographer, and that is where we're gonna stick it off. And of course, real quick, go to the Perfect Wedding Package where we talk about all these concepts. If you're curious about raising your prices, increasing your profit, and we're gonna double our revenue in 2021. That's my goal. That's my goal for this, and I'm hoping that if you take the Perfect Wedding Package, that you'll be able to double your revenue in 2021. Check it out. It's risk-free. If you don't like any of it, you give me a call, send me an email, send me a message, and say, Jordan, I didn't like this, or this isn't worth the price that I paid for. I want a refund, and I say, no problem, refund on the spot. The risk is on me. The risk is never on you with my products. So the perfectweddingpackage.com, go check it out. No pushing, no obligation, just browse. So, thank you guys for watching. My name is Jordan P. Anderson, and I will see you on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Oh, and let me do my closer because this is the part where I edit. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Jordan Anderson, and I'll see you on the next one. Cool. And we're out. Cool. All right. That concludes it, folks. Now we're just kind of are we in the housekeeping mode right now? Let's kind of check. Do we have any questions? No question. Oh, wow. Okay. Here we got some viewer activity. Playbacks, average watch time. I'm seeing everything on the stream getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's those like adding. I'm reading Atomic Habits right now, and it's just kind of adding that little bit, 1% every single day. It's going up higher and higher. I really like this new hair light up here. I think I'm gonna keep it. The C-stand was over here just chilling. I said let's put it to good use. So I got the C-stand right here. I think it was a good episode. Hopefully I wasn't clipping too much. I'm looking at my VU meter here. If we have any questions about pricing, I'll take them right now. I've been trying to figure out better ways to share this stream. Of course, we're doing it consistently. Jordan, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Let's figure out how we're doing. Stream health is good. Yeah. No, I'm. Everyone who's watched this, everyone who's take a peek at this, it's everyday improvement of this kind of stuff. Like, I feel like we just got to be consistent with it. I think that's been my flaw with a lot of the marketing that I've done. That it's just like I have to be consistent with it, Jordan. Like, don't try something for a month. Try it for a year. So, we didn't talk about this, and this is what I get. We'll talk about this on Wednesday. I'm trying to articulate the journey to $100,000. That's the journey I'm on. And we're going to talk about it on Wednesday. I'm going to articulate it better. What do we have coming up on Wednesday? Just going to teach you guys. I was working with Notion today. We had a Notion outage. I guess everyone is back to work. So on Wednesday, we're talking about belief and believing in ourselves and inner thoughts, and I just finished listening to Think and Grow Rich, so we're going to talk about that on Wednesday, talk about some of the biggest lessons I got from that book. That's what it's going to be on Wednesday. The power of belief, of auto-suggestion, the power of in here and in here to kind of drive your success. I didn't believe it at first. All right. Nice. I think I'm going to do a book, not a book. I'm going to do more book reviews, but I need to either on Wednesday or Friday tell you which books I'm going to be reading for 2021. And I should probably get all the books that I read for 2020, put them in a big chunk, and do like maybe that'll be one episode that we do. It's just kind of like a book club day where we just go through all the books that I've read. I pull these books down. It's like I have to have books everywhere. I cannot have books on the shelf because if they're on the shelf, they're not accessible, and you cannot get them out and get all these beautiful sticky notes and highlighters. Every book that I have has it. You have to digest books. We'll talk about this more, but you have to digest books in a way that is just you have to be a very active reader. I'm a very active reader in the sense that, as opposed to a passive reader who I don't read fiction just for casual fun. I read books to give me information right the fuck now. So, Yeah. Cool. For the 2 folks watching, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys soon. Say hi in the chat. And my name is Jordan Anderson, and that's going to wrap it up for Monday. See you guys on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Hit subscribe, set a reminder, hit the bell to make sure that you get a notification that I'll be going live on Wednesday.